been transferred to the Ministry of Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management. And the State Department for Culture and Heritage has been renamed as the State Department for Culture, the Arts and Heritage, and vested in the Ministry of Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage. The State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action has been transferred to the Ministry of Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage. Meanwhile, reassignment of cabinet secretaries are as follows. Musalia Mudavadi to the Ministry of the Prime Cabinet Secretary that has now been merged with the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. Rebecca Miano to the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Ali Swahome to the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Zachariah Mwangi Njeru to the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Benina Malonza to the Ministry of East African Community, the ASOLs and Regional Development. Dr. Alfred Mutua to the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. Moses Kuria to the Ministry of Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management. Aisha Jumwa to the Ministry of Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage. Some reassignment of principal secretaries also. Harsama Kello to the State Department for the ASOLs and Regional Development. Julius Korir to the State Department for Water and Sanitation. Geoffrey Kaituko to the State Department for Shipping and Maritime Affairs. Shadrach Mwadime, the State Department for Labor and Skills Development. Paul Rono, the State Department for Crops Development. Idris Salim Dokota, the State Department for Cabinet Affairs. Anwa Ngombe to the State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action. And Veronica Nduva to the State Department for Performance and Delivery Management. Now, some nomination and redeployment of ambassadors and high commissioners now. Ambassador Tabu Irina to the Mission of Dublin, Ireland. Ambassador Willie Bett to Beijing, China. January Mundurumo to Pretoria, South Africa. Ambassador George Murara Orina, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Retired Colonel Shem Amadi to Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Sabidio Dido, I beg your pardon. Dido Bashuna to Gaborone, Botswana. Jeremiah Ndola to Juba, South Sudan. Jeremiah Laibuta to Khartoum, Sudan. George Makogoe, Djibouti. And Joyce Hasimwa to Luanda, Angola. Ambassador Philip Mundia to Maputo, Mozambique. And Ambassador Isaac Kin Parasina to Abuja, Nigeria. Some breaking news there from the Executive Office of the President. Away from that now, the Ministry of Education has temporarily closed the St. Teresa's Eregi Girls High School in Vihiga County after several students were admitted to the hospital following a mysterious illness. The affected students exhibited symptoms such as knee pains and were unable to walk, leading to their admission to local hospitals. Over 90 students are currently hospitalized at the main county hospital in Kakamega and at the Guhu and Shibwe sub-county hospitals to receive treatment after their limbs were paralyzed. Our reporter Dolly Mwirigi Mbuvi now reports.
St. Teresa Eregi Girls High School has been closed after students demanded to go home due to the mysterious outbreak of an illness that has left over 90 students hospitalized of unknown disease. The affected student complained of dizziness, headaches and stomachaches, with a large number of students unable to walk properly. A statement from the county government said that the Board of Management, officials of the Ministry of Education and Teacher Service Commission held consultations before the decision to close the school was made. Only Form 4 students remain in school for preparation of the forthcoming national exams. According to the member of County Committee of Education, Science and Technology, Boniface Sukoth, the county government is committed to finding a solution to the health challenge. Health Cabinet Secretary Susanna Komincha and Ezekiel Machogu of Education, speaking about the issue before the Parliamentary Committee on Administration and Education, led by Bumula, Member of Parliament Wamboka Wanami, say that investigation has already begun to identify the disease and that the tests have been submitted to Cambridge.
Yesterday evening, it kept us awake. We had a total of 95 students hospitalized as at yesterday evening. This morning, I haven't received the report. But when we got the report from the county government, we immediately dispatched a team from the headquarters, from the ministry. My director of public health, together with a team of 7, are already in Eregi. and they should be able to give us a better report by end of today. But in the interim, I think we did 5 tests were done, samples, and there was no any bacterial pathogen that can be conclusively referred to as causing the issue. So several samples have been brought to Nairobi to Kemri, and investigations are ongoing. As soon as we get any information, then we shall be able to share it. But I would like to call upon members and the public to remain calm as we manage the situation.
Samiret's parents have expressed their concern and accused the school management of not taking urgent action when the disease broke out. They further accused the institution of not contacting them, leaving them to learn about the situation at the school on social media.
Walimu wako wapi? I want to talk to teachers. Where are they? Shida yenye iko hapa, hata mwalimu ukitoka na mtoto kufuatilia ajue mtoto anaendeleaje mahali penye hako, hiyo hakunanga.
Tuhakikishiwe maneno mangapi? 1, before tukanyage kete, tunataka tuone watoto wetu.
Lakini nimefika hapa, nimeanza kuchanganyikiwa. Tuangalie jambo moja kwanza. Tutibu ugonjwa, tukishamalizana na ugonjwa, ndio tuende kwa mambo na masomo.
This comes even after 3 students and a teacher succumbed to a similar mysterious illness that broke out at Mukumu Girls High School in April this year. Mystery remains over what is afflicting schools in the western region after more than 5,000 pupils from Mukumu Girls and 100 students from Butere Boys were hospitalized due to the outbreak.
Wengi wao wanaendelea kwa hospitali vizuri, lakini kuna wachache wenye wanashughulikiwa saa hii na madaktari. Tumechukua sampuli kupeleka kwa laboratories za Kisumu na Kemri, Nairobi.
Dolly Murigimbovi for Hope TV.
Thank you, Dolly, for that report. Now, President William Ruto has expressed confidence that investments in the digital sector will enhance the country's economic growth, affirming that Kenya is emerging as an attractive global investment destination for technology. Speaking while officially launching the Amazon Web Services Development Center in Nairobi, the head of state noted that the center will create job opportunities and make Kenya the second African hub from which its teams will be developing solutions for partners. Grace Hati with more.
President William Ruto has officially opened the Amazon Web Services AWS Development Center at Riverside, Nairobi County, this being the second digital center in the continent after South Africa. While affirming that Kenya is emerging as an attractive global investment destination for technology, the president noted that investments in the digital sector will enhance the country's economic growth. According to him, this digital center will create job opportunities and also enhance skills development among the Kenyan youth.
The transformative potential of digital technology has been experienced by ordinary people, thanks to the possibilities unlocked through AWS in developing solutions and bringing opportunities closer. This is the promise we wish to nurture here and share throughout the continent, because research, development, and innovation, as well as a digital technology, hold the key to the future of African socio-economic transformation and job creation initiatives.
The president has expressed confidence in the newly launched development center, reiterating the government's commitment to ensuring the inclusivity of all in the digital space.
We are committed to ensuring that no one, not a single person, is left behind in our march towards Kenya's digital future. Our decision to digitize all government services is informed by the need to make them easily accessible at minimum or no cost to all Kenyans who have a cell phone. This is also why we are also rolling out 100,000 kilometers of last mile fiber optic connectivity, establishing digital hubs in every ward, and providing free Wi-Fi at every center throughout Kenya.
President Ruto has said that Amazon's choice of Kenya as its base to extend its global and African footprint is an endorsement of the country's competitiveness in the digital sector. At the same time, the head of state has announced the government's efforts to strengthen education in the country in order to enhance Kenya's human capital.
Our human capital is the greatest resource that we have as a country. It is the reason why we continue to spend on our education to sharpen our human capital. This year, we are spending the largest budget ever in the history of Kenya on education. Close to $5 billion we're investing in education. Just to make sure that we get the base right.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Ahati.
And ahead of President William Ruto's 4-day visit to Luo Nyanza beginning this Friday, the young Nyanza professionals have urged the residents to embrace the visit by the president, saying he is a symbol of national unity. While addressing the press today in Nairobi, the young Nyanza professionals welcomed the move by the head of state to launch and commission several projects in the region. At the same time, urged opposition leaders to be available so as to discuss development priorities with the president. Our very own Kennedy Kimani with more on that story.
With 2 days remaining before President William Ruto begins his 4-day development tour of the Luo Nyanza region, the young Nyanza professionals have today urged the residents in Raila Odinga's backyard to embrace the president's visit as he is a symbol of national unity. At the same time, urging the opposition leaders to be available so as to discuss development priorities with the head of state.
We are here today to officially welcome the president to Siaya, Migori, Homa Bay and Kisumu counties during his official visit. And as young people, first of all, we want to appreciate the thought by the president to visit our region, and also not just to visit, but to launch and commission several projects. As young people, we believe most of the projects that are going to be launched or commissioned by the president are going to, for the longest, support or make an impact in our lives as young people.
President Ruto is scheduled to start the visit on Friday with the first stop in Homa Bay County, where he is expected to commission several projects before moving to Migori, Kisumu and Siaya counties.
For us is to assert ourselves that we are also the people of Kenya, and no region should be left behind when it comes to development. For me is to urge our leaders at the local who are in the opposition party to be available for the president to be able to discuss development priorities of the region.
The leaders have also condemned any form of hooliganism during the visit by the president.
The president is going to be visiting Sony Sugar. There have been a lot of issues of debt, and farmers need either the debts to be waived, which I think to some extent we are almost there. There's also need to tell the president that we cannot just have a company that perennially has problems. Maybe we need to change the growth architecture or the way we conduct the business of sugar within the region.
And this information goes to the Luo Nyanza leaders. We are aware that there is a plan to disrupt the presidential visit. The hooliganism nature is highly condemned. And to our fellow young men and ladies, msiwahi kubali mtumike. Gone are the days mtu anawalipa mwende murugishe mkutano ya baba ya taifa. It's very unfortunate of that.
I'm urging our people, President William Samoei Ruto has been a blessing to us. He has visited us more than 4 times than any other regions.
Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha and her counterparts in the Ministry of Education, Ezekiel Machogu, and National Treasury, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, today participated in a roundtable discussion with the National Assembly Public Investment Committee on Governance and Education. led by Bumula MP Wamboka Wanami. The discussion was centered on essential matters related to the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta had gazetted the hospital as a parastatal under the Ministry of Health on the 25th of January 2019, effectively severing the relationship between the hospital and the university. Alice Diana tells us more.
The National Assembly Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education, led by Bumula MP Wamboka Wanami, today held a round-table discussion between Cabinet Secretaries for Health, National Treasury, Education, and the management of Kenyatta University and Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital amid a fierce contest pitting Vice-Chancellor Professor Paul Wanaina against his predecessor Professor Olive Mugenda over the ownership and management of KU Hospital.
Shortfalls, KU conceptualized and proposed.
The tussle has played out for a considerable period of time. At the core is whether the hospital should be run by the university, as was the case before 2019 when it was made a parastatal via the legal notice issued by the then President Uhuru Kenyatta, or remain under a board chaired by Professor Olive Mugenda. Appearing before the National Assembly Public Investments Committee, KU Vice-Chancellor Paul Wanaina insisted that the initial plans for the establishment of the hospital were for its facilities to be used by KU for teaching, training and research exclusively.
It has been extremely difficult because in that hospital, that is where we have the medical school. We have learned that what was meant as a medical school has been repurposed. There are some people who have offices there, and therefore we cannot accept that.
On her part, the Hospital Management Board Chairperson Professor Olive Mugenda told the committee that the Kenyatta University management has refused to align to the legal notice changing the hospital into a parastatal, hence the ongoing tussle.
The reason why that happened, Honorable Chair, members, is because within those 3 years, members of Parliament, led by Honorable Sabina Chege and Esther Pasadis, they went there and found that nothing was going on in that hospital. And I think they then raised a discussion with the government and has a decision to make it a parastatal, and I'll just board.
In her submission, Health CS Susanna Humicha elaborated on the crucial nature of Legal Notice Number 4 of 2019, which placed Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital under the Ministry of Health. Consequently, she noted that any attempt to revoke it would necessitate substantial legal amendments, potentially leading to disruptions in financial and contractual commitments.
In my submissions, if I did mention that it's not possible to revert, then that is an error. I know that a legal notice can be revoked. I know that is a possibility, and I stand guided with the committee. But to plead with the committee that so far we have seen the steps that have been taken, and should there be a place where an error has been committed and there is room for correction, I am willing to sit back together with my colleagues and see then what is it that we need to do to correct an error that has been taken without necessarily clawing back on the benefits that we have already achieved from that institution as a referral hospital.
CS Ezekiel Machogu called on Kenyatta University and Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital to embrace harmonious working relationship in a bid to achieve service delivery in line with bettering lives of Kenyans through Kenya Kwanza's The Plan agenda.
We are implementing that decision, so that we have seen what is happening in Moi Referral Hospital. There is no problem as such. We have seen what is happening in Kenyatta Hospital. What is happening here, if I was to be frank to you, and I think I made it clear to my two professors, there is a personality issue, something, and we are looking at bigger issues as a country and not two individuals. And I've made it clear to my two professors that if we continue like this, Chair.
The National Assembly Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education Chairman Wamboka Wanami gave several directives, including allowing KU students to be given full access to the facility as they await to write their recommendations about the matter to the President. Alice Diana, Hope TV Newswatch.
Lawyer Dunstan Omari says he will appeal the 35-year sentence against his client Fred Leparan, who was found guilty of child trafficking at the Malusi Hospital. Leparan, a social worker, together with Selina Adundo, were each convicted of child trafficking and neglect offences by a Nairobi court. Selina was, however, handed a 2-year sentence or the option of paying a fine of 300,000 shillings. The two are found guilty of stealing and selling newborns between 100,000 shillings and 300,000 shillings and ordered to spend 25 years in jail alongside a 10-year non-custodial sentence over the theft of 2 babies. They had been caught in a well-planned plot to sell a child abandoned at the hospital while negotiating with an undercover journalist.
35 years pronounced in his sentence. He will serve the remainder of 10 years under probation sentence, which will be he will be put under close supervision. Further to the sentence, I hereby order that for the period the two shall be for the period of the sentence, the two convicts shall not be assigned duties related to children welfare. The 2 surviving victims are now available for legal adoption to enjoy a nuclear family setting. I also order the release of records produced in respect of the victims to the management of Imani Children's Home to facilitate adoption as the case might be. Each accused person or convict has 14 days right of appeal.
The court has granted us 14 days for appeal, which might lapse before we have the documents relevant for us to pursue further. Then we kindly request the court to order that the documents and the proceedings that we'll be looking for be typed and be available to us on priority basis.
A visit of some of the other redeployments that were announced by the Office of the President now in the Office of Government Spokesperson on the recommendations of the Public Service Commission. The Government Spokesman Office has been reconstituted as follows. Now, Government Spokesman Isaac Mwaura has been appointed there. The Deputy Spokesperson are 2, Mwanaisha Chizuga, and Deputy Government Spokesman Gabriel Muthuma, I beg your pardon. To other matters now, and the Kenya Tourism Board has hailed the cultural festivals in the devolved units, saying they have helped open up tourism circuits and spurred growth in the hospitality sector, while at the same time positioned culture and heritage as drivers of tourism growth in the country. KTB Acting CEO John Churchill said the country's tourism sector value chain will greatly benefit from the expected full bookings recorded in hotels, and hospitality facilities during the festivals, even as businesses that are supported by tourism will benefit from the many visitors expected. Churchill spoke as Samburu Governor Jonathan Lelelit announced the 30th edition of the International Maralal Camel Derby set for the 5th to the 8th of October. It is set to attract both local and international participation. The United Nations World Tourism Organization has recognized the role of culture as a driver of tourism growth, especially for destination development, positioning, diversification, competitiveness, sustainability, and recognition at international level.
A number of festivals are held across Kenya during the year. What we observed is that quite a number of them do take place usually in the last quarter of the calendar year. And that is important, but we are looking at how we can be able to spread them out so that there's always a reason for tourists to experience culture throughout the year. So I think we're working with counties, that's an opportunity. But cultural festivals in themselves really are impactful. They touch on the local community. They bring the tourists to a local area where they're interacting with local people. So we have the performing arts, those who will dance, those who will jump, for example, the Maasai community, those who will jump and dance. So we have the dancers being touched and they are performing and they will be paid for their performances. They also do improve greatly based on feedback that is given. They know what tourists want. They know how to mingle with them and make it really a great festival so that at the end of it, the tourist is happy and the dancers are happy because they get something, they get an income.
In terms of nationalities, usually we have almost every nationality in Europe and the US. We've not had a very good number from the Asian side of our markets, but we expect that market to keep growing. But I expect to get people from the US, people from Canada, and almost all nationalities in Eastern Europe. Usually for the 3-day events, all the lodgings and all the hotels in Maralal are filled up. So the local businesses benefit a lot.
1,000 smallholder maize farmers in Embu County will now access digital credit for inputs and insurance to boost agricultural production. Through a financing agreement between Family Bank and DigiFarm, the farmers based in Bere North and South sub-counties will be able to borrow and access the funds digitally through the AgriTech platform. The smallholder farmers with a maximum of 2 acres each will receive financing depending on acreage size and crop cycle. The partnership comes following a program spearheaded by the International Food Policy Research Institute, which has set out to implement a risk contingent credit program to assess whether innovative insurance products can increase access to finance by smallholder farmers. In addition to financing, the farmers will receive innovative insurance training on sustainable agricultural practices, market linkages, and financial literacy to promote farming resilience and produce. Family Bank and DigiFarm will also extend the partnership to sorghum farmers in Meru County. And the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KAM, has launched the 5th edition of the Changamka Shopping Festival. The festival seeks to showcase high-quality, locally manufactured products in a bid to celebrate the sector's ingenuity and promote the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative. The event is set to take place from the 1st to the 5th of November at KICC in Nairobi and 1st to the 4th of December at Aga Khan Hall in Kisumu. Both editions shall feature exhibitors drawn from various manufacturing sectors.
Thank you. Currently, manufacturing makes up around 7.2% of Kenya's GDP. The Changamka Shopping Festival and other initiatives aim to boost the consumption of local-made products with the goal of increasing the contribution to 15% of the GDP.
I want to assure you that the county government of Nairobi, plus His Excellency the President, is very keen. We're both very keen on supporting manufacturing.
During the launch, Anthony Mwangi, the chief executive of KAM, highlighted that the Changamka Festival plays a crucial role in enabling local manufacturers to showcase their skills and capabilities in the local market.
We are very, very pleased to have this conversation today because this is a launch of what we'll be doing in the next 1 month from 31st of October to 4th, 5th of November. This is a very unique expo because we only showcase what is done in Kenya. And I was mentioning to Your Excellency that 65% of manufacturing is done in Nairobi. So you are the one single most important stakeholders. But just to give you slight numbers about manufacturing, currently, we contribute 7.8% to the GDP. So if you look at 14 trillion GDP, is in excess of 1 trillion. The jobs, as I've told you, the second largest creator of wage employment. If you look at the tax coffers, 360 billion. And if you look at all the metrics, it shows you that only with 7.8%, we have a huge opportunity in this country.
The festival aims to bridge the gap between the consumption of locally made goods and imported products. During the launch, June Chepkemei, the managing director of Ken Invest, representing the Principal Secretary of State Department of Investments, Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, emphasized the government's commitment to supporting investors in establishing projects and driving economic growth.
At Kenya Investment Authority, we have revamped our one-stop center to be able to provide investment facilitation from end to end. You start with Ken Invest and you end with Ken Invest. We are automating that process to ensure that there is transparency, there is visibility, and we cut on bureaucracy, so that as an investor, if you've made a decision to invest in the country and you are going through that process of either getting a license or getting a permit or whatever it is that you're looking for you to kick off your investment, you're able to then track and see where that investment is at, and we are able to then escalate from that point of view and track how long it takes to get certain processes cleared.
The Changamka Festival gives manufacturers a platform to showcase the quality and variety of locally made goods for local, regional, and international markets. It also allows customers to directly purchase products from the manufacturers at discounted prices. Veronica Wanjiru, Hope TV Newswatch.
Thank you. A big clap to NCPA. Taking our first short break here on Hope TV Newswatch. More news items are lined up for you, including tonight's episode of Lessons from the Entrepreneur. Don't go too far.
In order to keep hope alive in the airwaves, Hope Media has a couple of initiatives. Friends of Hope. Friends of Hope is you and I forming a team of well-wishers and volunteers who give in cash and kind to support in spreading the gospel at Hope Media. Currently, Hope Media is running a campaign under Friends of Hope dubbed 100 for 1. Through the campaign, Hope Media is asking Hope FM and Hope TV listeners and viewers to give just 100 shillings in order to reach one more soul with the message of hope and the gospel. Engage with us on our social media platforms at Hope FM Live and at Hope TV Kenya. Kuwa rafiki mso leo.
Welcome back. Now, the winners of the 2023 Nobel Peace Prize in Chemistry have been announced at the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences in Stockholm today. The Nobel Prize recognizes outstanding achievements in peace, economics, physics, literature, chemistry, and medicine. Two American scientists, Mongi Bawendi and Louis Bruce, as well as a Russian Alex Eskimov, have won the prestigious Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their contributions on quantum dots used in LED lights and TV screens, as well as by surgeons when removing a cancer tissue. And the committee inadvertently published their names hours before the official announcement, with Swedish media leaking the announcement. Each winner gets a cash prize of $1 million, a gold medal, and a personal diploma.
It's about a new tool for making organic molecules, and it's, if I would summarize it in an easy way, what it really means, think about playing chess. And then you introduce a new player on the chessboard that has new rules. Well, that means that you will think about the game in a different way, and you can execute the game in a different way. And that is the power of new methodology when it comes to organic chemistry. Think and do molecules in a way we couldn't do before.
So there are new pieces and new rules.
Yes, exactly. So organic catalysis is a new player, and then it is up to us who is going to use it to think about how can we use this new tool when building molecules.
And the National Bank of Kenya, NBK, recently launched the National Business Forum that aims to bring together entrepreneurs and sharpen their business acumen as they do business with the bank. The forum is thanks to a partnership between the NBK, the leadership group, and Ashitiva LLP that aims to offer small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, access to funds and financial advisory services. Now, I attended the launch of the forum and compiled some shared lessons for entrepreneurs. Here, coming up, today's episode of Lessons from an Entrepreneur. Today on Lessons from the Entrepreneur, we glean from insights from thought leaders who spoke during the National Business Forum held recently in Nairobi. Have a listen to some of the thought insights that they gave to entrepreneurs as they journey on.
Today we live in a very challenging environment, locally, globally, everywhere in our little communities. And so for me, the space that leadership occupies is very, very critical. That as we set up our businesses, as we build our businesses, as we look at the risks around our businesses, as we look at the people who are going to come in and help us run this, whether it's just a one-person business, a two-person business, a 1,600-person business, this is something that we cannot overemphasize, because if we don't do it well, we'll find that we cannot manage our finances well, we cannot manage our people well, we cannot get into the market that we want to get to, so that we're able to deliver to sell our products, etc. So I'd like to kind of end there in terms of these introductory remarks, that leadership is critical. We cannot overemphasize this. And so as we go through this program in the national business, there will be components which require you to get funding, but there will be components which require you then to see how you are going to utilize those funding, and this is where leadership comes in.
When I think about growth, I am at the same level as you. I am at the point where I am trying to figure this thing out called scaling. And, it's been hits and misses, but at the end of the day, my partners and I are very committed to figuring it out, as I hope you are as well. Because, and I was very delighted to hear about the chicken business, because yesterday I was listening to Chick-fil-A, the son to the founder, and their story of Chick-fil-A, as well as if you think about Chick-fil-A, if you think about KFC, if you think about McDonald's, they all started as a mom and pop kind of restaurant. But the difference between Chick-fil-A and Karaoke or Wafula or Odhiambo running his own restaurant or his own chicken business in Kenya is that Chick-fil-A had a growth mindset. They had big thinking mindset. They're starting small, but they're thinking big. And so that's the first thing that I think we have to embrace as business owners who are ready and eager and curious about growth. What got us here will not get us there. What got you here will not get you there. So the first thing that we have to be comfortable with is big thinking. And it may look like a simple matter, but you may be surprised how big thinking is not easy. We reach a certain ceiling and we say, this is as far as I go. The appetite for big thinking in East Africa, in Kenya, in Africa, is not that big. It's not that big. And so I'm even also challenging myself to go beyond my fears, beyond my limitations. And that therefore means that I can't achieve it alone. Chick-fil-A had to get support. Right now from one shop to about 3,000 restaurants, and in some places they own real estate, in some places they do mall outlets. And so if you're to think about where you are, how far can you imagine your growth? Because, a friend of mine who is in pet food, an American investor, a businessman, told me the other day that you have to start with the end in mind. And he challenged me to read that book, Starting with the End in Mind, or Building with the End in Mind. And my challenge to us today is, how do we perceive the end? I liked what Fred said, that it was challenging the Nairobi West business to think of itself in 13, 14, 15 different countries. So we must figure out how to think big. And it therefore means that you must We must excel in operations so that then to leave room for us to think, to think and to build and to work on the business, as opposed to, constantly driving the grind in the business. The second thing is, excelling in our systems. So, systems are so critical, at times even more important than the product. The product is important, but the system is what, because there are so many businesses that have great products, but the system is what really gives you an edge.
I run an SME called the Leadership Group, and it's an SME because we started it the same way that was being described here by Fred and his friends. At the end of 2015, I left formal employment, having worked in banking for 18 years and worked in consulting for 3 years. And so I was sitting in my house and wondering what to do next. With my family, we decided that the best thing to do is to build on to the competencies that have grown over the years, and that was going to be in the area of leadership and governance. And so we took out a flip chart board and we drew a number of things of the kind of things we could do, and that led to the birth of the Leadership Group. At the Leadership Group, we support organizations in the areas of leadership development. So, as we all know, everything starts and thrives or dies on leadership. Our organizations thrive or die based on how we are envisioning them, how we think about what we want to do, and how we do it and who we do it with. And so today we support organizations in the area of leadership. We support organizations to build structures through boards of directors. We support organizations to develop strategy, so that they are clear about where they are going and how they will get there and what they need to get there. We support organizations in the area of communication and culture, etc., etc. So a number of areas there, and we also support organizations in the area of coaching.
There is no mineral on earth that is precious that is found on the surface. Every precious thing is found deep. Oil, gold, cobalt, diamond, everything. But you see, the generation in this part of the world has been deprived one thing, not finances. Money will follow ideas. So what you do need as this conglomerate of people here is a thinking that begins to elevate you. Money follows ideas. So my challenge to us is to begin, and that's why I want to congratulate the bank today. Knowledge is where everything starts and where everything ends. If we begin to invest in our people like we're doing today, on the knowledge platform, we then are beginning to scale the people that we partner with to new heights. I have a huge problem with titles and how people are called. And this is not the bank's problem. This is a national categorical problem. For example, what is an SME? The moment you say you're small, you're likely to remain very small. Do you understand? One of them that I'll be helping to shape narrative, and I can dare say this, is that the reason people are hustling is because you're called hustlers. We have to change. It says, let the poor say what? I am rich. Let the sick say what? And let what? Why is that like that? It's because you're a product of what you're called. And we have to aggressively begin to transform the things that we're doing by understanding that everything anchors on knowledge. The revival and the turnaround in the business has to start with how we begin to even call ourselves. And those are conversations that we'll be having even at government level and challenge them as to the narrative that we're creating and the results that we are seeing. So knowledge is everything. So on matters resilience, I've been in business over several years, now almost 30. Some have worked, some have not worked. Some have stagnated, some have done very well. But when you come to resilience, there are two key things that began working for me. One is building on mindset. Transformation starts with mindset. And that is why I'm excited to be here today, because this is a journey of mindset transformation. You will be renewed by, you'll be transformed by what? The renewal of your mind. And that's why knowledge is everything.
You're a product of what you're called. Sometimes you forget that your capital, your sweat, your social capital is what goes into the business. So whenever you're talking about investment readiness, people tend to think about external. How am I going to come to Fred and team to sell my business, to structure it? And I always say, no. Investor readiness starts from looking within. What he talked about, looking at your business and seeing honestly, what have I achieved, right? Where am I throwing money and it's not working and it's just a passion project for me? It's an ego trip. Where am I throwing money and it's working and maybe I need to focus more on that? It's about thinking about how do I make my business institutional? How do I remove myself from the business, right? And removing yourself does not mean that you're no longer managing, no. It's about putting in processes so when you're sitting here, you can pay attention to what is being said instead of half the head thinking, hey, with this VAT being added everywhere, left, right, and center, you know, cost of employees is going up, you know, I want to take advantage of cross-border trade. People are paying lip service to it. When my goods reach the border to go to Uganda, it's another story. It's like they don't know about all this ESU we are in, you know. All these things, it's about putting in structure. So what is investor readiness really at the end of it all? It's starting as a business owner and saying, understanding what is my business really good at? What are we doing well? Why is it thriving? And the reasons for it thriving, are they sustainable or is it a fad?
I used to work in the bank. I'm also an ex-banker in Central Bank. And I resigned at the age 27. And that time, Mika Cheserem was the CEO. And I told him, sir, please release me because I find that this is not the space I will be for the next couple of years. The youngest person who ever resigned from Central Bank, AAA Bank, at 27. What did I see? I saw opportunity that I needed to go and build on. But my first business was importing cars. I brought in several cars. The first car that came, I had been paid $3,000 for it. It got hit, when the drivers were bringing it, it got hit at Mtito one day, so I received half a car. The boot was behind the front seat. Now the owner came and told me I don't want. Then I realized the risk is really mine. The owner wants a full car. That was the first one. The second one arrived and the documents mysteriously disappeared. It took me 1 year to try and get new documents together with a lawsuit. The third one was from a neighbor of mine who I imported from, and the agent I sent the money disappeared. He sent me a car 12 months after. So I used to go home and I have to wait. There were apartments. I have to wait for the neighbor to sleep for me to go home. Because every day he's asking me for his car. I realized one thing. Car imports, car business, not for Anthony. Because I am able to track. I am able to identify my journey. The problem we have, and the problem that many people are experiencing, is that we're too busy running instead of being busy sitting. Sit, think, and analyze. You will see things that you have done that don't have fruit. So stop doing those things. You will see areas that you touch that propagate. Strengthen those things.
And I always talk about quail eggs because it's the most relatable thing. The first people to do quail eggs made money. They came in, saw an opportunity, quick, bought, sold out. Then all of us got in, all right? It's the same thing. I was working at the stock exchange when we listed Safaricom, and everyone was so excited. Everyone bought. And then I remember one of the people asking us, if everyone in the market has mangoes, who will sell to whom? If the buyers and the sellers both have the mangoes. But there were people who had a long-term strategy because they had thought about it. And there are the people who stayed the course and made the money. So it's about understanding what is driving your business, what makes it sustainable, and then understanding the threats to it.
When you think about Silicon Valley, what sets them apart is not just the technical invention. It's both the technical invention and the business invention. One of the greatest leaders of Silicon Valley is a gentleman called Bill Campbell. And Bill Campbell was like the coach of Silicon Valley. If you think about all the big tech genius leaders that you know about, as you know, tech people are generally very nerdy. Tech people are not very relational. But Bill Campbell was able to help them build businesses, because businesses means you're dealing with people, you're dealing with employees, you're dealing with shareholders, you're dealing with customers, and so they needed to excel both with the technical aspects as well as the relationship aspects, as well as business genius aspects. So this will hopefully become the engine of invention that will unleash our full potential.
I'm not an agriculturalist, but I understand a few fundamentals in every sector I enter. So we began looking at rice. We went to Mwea and began to teach these people how to plant differently, change variety, and contract. The first season, they moved from 18 bags per acre to 32 bags per acre. The second season, they moved from 32 bags to 66 bags. It's on television. You can Google it. They started buying televisions, buying new farms because they have more revenue. What happened? Knowledge increased productivity, not even capital. Now we're looking at Meru Dairy. The average problem in Africa in agriculture is productivity. Our coffee is 2 kilos per branch. In Brazil, is 30 kilos. Our cows are giving 5 liters. In Europe, is 60 liters. What is the difference? And therefore, we start investigating the problem. So we got into Meru Dairy, and the mandate was move us from 300,000 to 600,000 in 3 years. In 3 months, we're at 460,000. What are we doing? I realized a cow needs to eat the right food. Then I went back and realized, how is the food done? For you farmers, you buy hay on the street that you don't know how it was harvested, how it was grown, and it has no nutritional value. The cow that you have has no historical background, and therefore it can never improve. So we start teaching. The first thing we have done without changing feeds is extension service, which is anchored on knowledge. The cows are now moving from 5 liters to 12 liters. So I want to tell you that knowledge is increasing productivity. Before we now come to make them bankable and bring them to the bank, to tell the bank, now you can lend these farmers because they have a profitable business.
How many of us take time to learn from failure? He's talked about failure. Anyone who has run a business, we have spectacular failures. Failures where you sit and you hold yourself and you're like, oh, wait, I need to take a moment or 5, right? But how many of us actually look at that failure and say, okay, my fault was 1, 2, 3, 4. What I didn't prepare my team for, because that's part of a leader. You cannot say you're successful if your team is not doing well, right? What did I fail my team in doing, right? And then how do I prepare for better going forward? So all that, when people hear investor readiness, it's that objective preparation of your business to say, this is how we want to structure it. So that by the time you're coming to ask for the capital from NBK or any other partner, you know what it's supposed to do, you know what it's costing the business, and you know why you need to make it work. So many of us come to the bank without necessarily understanding what is this capital really for. Oh, I want to buy a machine. Okay, that's fine. But the machine is only a tool. What's the end game? And what point will it make you reach, right? What milestone, right? And if you want to grow your business, you don't have to physically go there yourself. There are other SMEs. Form partnerships, form collaborations, you know. But be careful. It's like a marriage, you know. I can come and sell myself and tell you all the wonderful things. Then once the ring is on the field, I don't cook chapati. I microwave, ready-made, right? Or someone doesn't fix doors. They know how to call the fundi. Is the door fixed? Yes. Is the chapati cooked? Yes. But not the way you wanted it, right? And that's the essence of partnerships. It's not just about the end goal. It's about how you work together.
Those have been insights by thought leaders speaking during the National Business Forum. So much to glean from. I know you have picked a lesson or two for your business. For Lessons from the Entrepreneur, my name is Melissa Oduor. And from the live newscast, thank you for having kept me company. My name is Melissa Oduor. Boniface Muredi has been on the sign language tonight. Have a great evening.